Hi, this is Eric Sloef over at the booth of Nutanix, and I'm joined with Rob Fry. Rob, how are you?
I'm very well, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Still a little bit rough of yesterday's party, but
Yeah, I bet.
it will go away eventually. I hope so. So, what are you guys building here? I've heard great stories about small V-blocks. Is it a V-block? How does it work?
Yeah, so it's quite different to just a standard V-block. So it's a truly converged appliance. So what we do is we actually produce a hardware and software pre-configured with ESXi, and it will run up to about 300 virtual machines in a single 2U. Each of the nodes within the 2U's got 5 terabytes of storage, so you get 20 terabytes of storage inside one appliance, and it will scale out to literally hundreds of nodes.
Okay.
Yeah, and we do that by just connecting standard Intel x86 server, top of rack 10 gig E-switch, and just carry on scaling. The reason we scale kind of so well is because our founder, Mohit, he actually spent 5 years at Google, and he was on the team that designed and implemented the Google file system. So we use, under the covers, some really interesting technology, that allows us to build it out as a massively parallel shared nothing architecture. So that means we scale completely linearly from 3 nodes to hundreds of nodes.
Oh.
Very, very easy.
Okay, it looks great, but how many memory can you put in such a device?
Yeah, so in each node, you can have up to 192 gigs of memory.
Okay.
It's a dual socket server. They're Intel 5650s currently, so they're hex-core processors. And inside each node, there's a Fusion card as well, so a Fusion I/O card. All the hot data that's been generated by the virtual machines gets stored inside the Fusion card, and then the cold data that's not being used by the virtual machines is automatically tiered down to the spinning disk tier of storage. So it means that we get really, really good performance because the majority of the I/O just gets served straight over the PCI Express bus to the virtual machines that are requesting it. Yeah,
Okay.
all the cold data just sits anywhere within the cluster.
Okay.
Very easy.
So how do you manage this?
Yeah, so we just use standard Virtual Center. Yeah, so if we have a look over here, so Virtual Center is completely unchanged. It's standard ESX. It comes with ESXi, so the resellers that we work through would just sell those VMware licenses as they normally would. Or if you're a customer, you've got licenses you can reuse. You can just reuse those. And Virtual Center absolutely is exactly as it always would be. No difference at all. And we've done that very carefully. We wanted to make sure that we weren't creating some kind of Nutanix version of ESX, so that as we get new versions of ESX to support, we can do that very, very quickly. And our interface into the storage array looks a little bit like this. So it looks really nice. It's based out of Flex. You can see within a cluster the nodes that we've kind of got in there, how much storage we've got, what the number of IOPS are and so on. And then we can see all the virtual machines that we're running within the storage and within the cluster itself. What we actually do is we localize a lot of the I/O within each of the nodes within the cluster. So as you've got many, many virtual machines coming up and booting and people using desktops or whatever they might be using, the majority of the I/O never exits the nodes within each of the nodes within the cluster. It stays locally and just runs over the PCI Express bus to the local file system. But that local file system is actually a global file system from all the disks across the entire cluster, so it makes it really easy to look after. So we can do things like, if I create a storage container here, very easy. So if I just grab hold of the keyboard there very quickly, there we go. So I'll call this storage pool VMware. It's going into a fast pool and it's replicated across the entire cluster at the block level. So we actually, within the file system, the block level is a 1 megabyte block, and so every block of data is written into the local Fusion card and synchronously replicated into another node within the cluster so that we maintain availability if there's any failure. So we can just click on create on that, and then really helpfully it says, do you want to create an NFS data store? I just click yes on that. It's going to call it VMware as well. I want it attached to all the nodes within the cluster. I click on create, and it just creates that data store for me. If I go back now and have a look inside Virtual Center and have a look at the data stores we've got there, you'll see at the bottom there's VMware. If I look at the number of hosts, you see it's connected to all 4 hosts in that cluster. And storage management within a Nutanix array doesn't get any more difficult than that. Very, very easy, very quick to deliver.